Good morning! It is 6:30. I just watched the sunrise and now I'm sitting on some turf, drinking some drink that does turn my teeth and mouth and lips green. So if that happens in this video, so be it. Sorry, there's a chunk of ginger. I'm currently in Arizona. That's where I grew up. That's where my parents still live. I think anyone that's moved out of their house knows that you learn a lot about yourself when you move out of your house and you're living on your own. And you also learn a lot about yourself when you come back to your parents' house after being away. Maybe you fall into some old patterns when you get home, but this time you're able to catch them because you're not just so engulfed in them because of your surroundings. You know that that's not always how you act. You're only acting that way because of your current environment. And so every time that I come back to my parents' house, I learn more about myself and about my childhood and about my tendencies that I need to work through. And I don't want to blame it completely on my environment, the way that I acted growing up, the behaviors that I developed, the habits that I developed, because obviously I am accountable for those things too. But environment does play a really large role, and family is a big influence on childhood. My family was very family oriented and I had a lot of siblings. We were together a lot. We had family dinner every single night. I very much had a role in my family. It's always very challenging for me to come back into the family system and try to break out of that role, because that's the role that I've played my entire life. You know, what if it's not a role that I want to play? One thing that I realized very quickly when I left my house was just how much of a people pleaser that I am, how terrified I am to take up space. I will sacrifice my own needs 10 out of 10 times in order to make other people comfortable, in order to make sure that I do not cause someone else any sort of inconvenience. I was a middle child of 7 growing up, and a lot of my siblings had needs, you know? We all had needs, but there were things happening, and all I wanted was to just not need anything. I just wanted to make sure that I was the perfect kid that my parents didn't have to worry about. That did not end up happening. I ended up having a lot of needs and things that my parents had to step in for, i.e. my mental illness that got bad enough that I had to seek help, and that was very challenging for me, but that's a story for another time. But all growing up, I just wanted to make sure that no one had to worry about me, make sure that I became as small as I possibly could become. And taking up space is still something that I struggle with to this day. Like, sometimes I'll see people skating by at school and their skateboard will just be so freaking loud. I don't even feel embarrassed for them. All I think is, oh, I could never ride that skateboard, because the idea of everyone looking at me as I skate by because my skateboard is so loud, absolutely not. I'm just terrified of being seen. I am terrified of being seen, which I think is funny, because another thing that I've realized is that nobody really knows me. Like, all throughout my life, I was sacrificing my own needs. I was putting other people first and not actually showing up authentically as myself, because I didn't want to be an inconvenience, and I felt like if I did show up authentically, if I did stand my ground, if I did put my needs first, I would be an inconvenience to other people, so I didn't do that. However, because that's what I did for years and years and years, obviously my family thought that's me, that's who I am, that's what I act like. Since leaving home, I'm realizing that a lot of the things that I did while I was living at home was not me. Just because I acted a certain way for many, many years does not mean that was me. That was just a mask. That was just maladaptive behavior. That was not me. And now that I'm actually realizing who I am, I'm realizing that nobody actually knows me, because I didn't even know me, really. Nobody knows me. People at school, a lot of people make assumptions about me, and they're not necessarily bad assumptions, but just so many people assume that they know me, I guess because of what I project into the world, I guess because of how I act and what I say and things. And it's been coming up a lot recently where people will make little comments and I'll be like, that's so strange. They think this about me. That's not true at all. And even my family, like, they don't actually know me. And I'm not trying to put it all on them. Again, I didn't show myself, I didn't know myself, I didn't allow myself permission and space to be myself all growing up, so it's not just my family's fault for never getting to know me. But it is interesting coming back to my parents' house after kind of cultivating more of myself and then finding myself shrinking back to these old behaviors and these old parts of me that were not actually me, that I do not resonate with, that I don't align with anymore. However, it's just like my body knows. When I get here, I shrink. When I'm around my family, who I am disappears. And that's definitely part of the work that I still need to do. You know, it's one thing to learn how to take care of your own needs and show up authentically when you're on your own and you're not in an environment that you don't feel really provides a lot of space for you to do so. And it's another thing for you to go back to that environment and showing up authentically and caring for yourself within that environment. And that's just a whole nother level that I'm not on yet. I'm still very reactive. That's what my therapist said yesterday. She said I'm still in a very reactive state when I am at my parents' house. It's almost automatic, so I really need to be very intentional about breaking these patterns if I want to break them, because they're just automatic, and if I don't think about changing them, they're not going to change. But the second that I come to my parents' house, it's not even the people that always affect me, it's just that my body knows that this space equals this, and I feel so weird when I come to my parents' house. It just feels so weird. That's the only word that I can use to describe it. I just don't feel like myself. Something shifts the second that I get to my parents' house. It's like I enter this vortex. Another thing that kind of goes along with the people pleasing, I am so hyper aware of other people. Has this ever happened to you where you're laying in bed at night and you hear a noise and you get a little freaked out, your heart starts beating, and all of a sudden you can hear for miles. You can hear every single noise within miles of your space because you go into this fight or flight where you need to be hyper vigilant and hyper aware. That is what I'm like every single moment that I'm in this house. I can hear for miles. I'll be completely down the hallway and hear a little tiny noise in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I'll perk up and be like, oh, who is that? What is that person doing? Just feel like I'm always tiptoeing around while I'm here. And again, it's automatic. It's not something that I think about. I don't think, oh my gosh, I need to know what that person's doing in the kitchen. Oh my gosh, I hear a noise. Become hyper aware. Come on, this is nerve-wracking. No, I don't consciously think about it or intentionally try to be in fight or flight when I'm here, but that's just what my body does. And because of this fight or flight state, I just feel like I become someone that I'm not. Like, even my sister said something the other day, why are you being so judgmental? And I just thought, I don't know why. That's not who I am. I don't know why I'm so irritable right now. Like, I haven't felt this way in a really long time. It was just weird. And I really do think that it's partially because of that fight or flight. I'm just so reactive. And I've been thinking a lot recently about this role that I was saying that I played in my family all growing up. I've always felt like an outsider within my own family. And I'm not blaming this on my family. I love my family and I know that they love me so much. But I've always felt like an outsider just because I have a lot of different passions and even values than my family, and I've just always felt a little bit on the outskirts. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think a lot of middle children feel that way. Coming back to my parents' house and feeling this fight or flight state that I go into, and how irritable I become, and how I just become not fun to be around, it almost makes me think, well, obviously I was an outsider. Obviously people didn't want to hang out with me all the time. Like, I was not fun to be I was not fun to be around. And I'm not trying to tell myself it's all my fault that I'm an outsider in my family. I'm just the worst person to be around. Obviously nobody loved me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying my family doesn't really know me. They never really got to see these beautiful parts of me that I'm now cultivating away from home, because throughout my whole life I didn't even know them myself. I didn't show them. And then when I come back to this environment, I'm not able to show them because my body just goes back into the state that it was in all growing up, this fight or flight state. And I'm not able to show those parts of me that I love so much. So obviously they don't know me because they can't right now. I'm not in a place where I can show them those fun parts of me. And that's really frustrating. That's really, really freaking frustrating. Frustrated that they don't know me. I want them to know me, but I'm frustrated that I can't show them me. I'm unable at this point in my journey to show them these parts of me that I want them to know, that I think are beautiful, that maybe will allow me to get closer to them, or at least just have them know me. Like, I don't know, don't we all want people to know us? I don't know. It all contradicts each other of how I want to feel seen, but also I'm terrified to feel seen, and I'm terrified to take up space, and I want people to know me, but at the same time, I am not in a place to let people know me. That's how I feel. Good morning. Good morning. My alarm just went off, but I woke up earlier than it. And because I'm so hyper aware of other people, this isn't just when I'm home, by the way. I cannot be in a room with other people without being so hyper aware of everyone's emotions, everyone's feelings, everyone's needs. And I think that this is why I'm such an introvert. I need to be alone in order to recharge my energy, because I feel so drained when I'm with other people, even if it's people that I really, really enjoy and really, really love being around. I am so hyper aware whenever I'm around other people because I just want everyone to feel comfortable. Again, going back to that people pleasing. I'm an empath. I feel for other people. I don't want anyone to feel sad, so I want to do what I can to make sure that no one's sad, that I keep the peace. This has definitely transferred from my home environment to my life in general, my life at college, and I'm just realizing that my introvertedness, is that the word? Introvertedness? Makes so much sense, because so much of my energy, my fluids, as they say in Chinese medicine, are depleted, are drained when I'm around other people, even really, really good, amazing people that I like being around. I need to be alone in a place where I don't have to be hyper aware of other people. And by have to, I never have to be, but my body just does it. I can't be around someone else without being hyper aware. And so my nervous system needs alone time where it can actually shut off. I do want to end with a couple positive takeaways. None of these have been negative. These all are just neutral, you know, they're just things I'm learning about myself. But something that I've really been able to reflect on since leaving my parents' house is this idea that what was wrong with me all growing up, the parts of me that were different than my family, or that made me feel a little bit like an outsider, or the parts that I felt like I had to hide because they were not parts of me that I felt that I should show, I can choose for those to not be wrong with me. You know, as opposed to I need to find people and friends in my life that will be okay with these things that are wrong with me, that are different inside of me. How about these things are a part of me, are a part of who I am, and I need to find people who love me for who I am. I can reclaim those parts of me that I've been made to feel negatively about and just decide that they don't have to be negative things. They're just other parts of me that make me who I am, that I can love on, that I can find other people who love me for. I don't need to feel bad about any part of who I am. Do I walk that walk in my actual life? You know, one day I will. Changing my mindset, maybe that's the first step. So one step at a time. Also, I am more than what other people say about me. I am more than what other people say that I am. I, for so long, just looked to other people to tell me who I was. And for the first time ever, I really feel like I am starting to write my own narrative for my own life, for who I am, starting to actually understand who I am, not just what other people say that I am. Just because my whole life I had this one singular role in my family does not mean I have to play that role forever. That does not mean that I have to play that role in all of my relationships. And I think it's really healthy and important for us all to evaluate the roles that we're playing in our relationship and whether we auditioned for those roles, whether we want to play those roles, whether we want other roles to have a little bit more stage time. I learned that from a master class. If you thought that was really good, that was not my words, but thank you. If you gave me the credit for that, for even just 1 second, you thought that maybe I came up with those questions, but they're really good, huh? They're really helpful. Oh, did you see that bird? Did you see that bird? This is my year of taking up space, okay? Not being afraid of riding noisy skateboards that make a lot of sound. Not being afraid of wearing a bright colored shirt. Even if that means more attention will be on you because it will draw people's eyes to you. No, I don't not wear bright shirts so people don't look at me. That would be so silly. I do not do that. Ah! I hope that this video was maybe validating to you if you also feel a little strange coming back to your parents' house or your childhood town, or just being around people that know versions of you that maybe you don't like or you don't want to be anymore, that you are not. It can be really challenging to step out of the roles that you've been playing your whole life and to explode these narratives that other people have of you. You are under no obligation to be the same person that you were yesterday or to be the same person that you were for a particular person at any time in your life. You are free to change and grow and evolve into new versions of you. If people are not able to open up their mind or to allow you the space to do that, then those people are not for you. I wrote a poem about this that I want to read. Sucks for them. They will never get to know you. They will never get to experience the beauty that is loving you, because to truly love, one must first see. And to truly see, one must first be open to the many possibilities of what the other person may bring to the table, notwithstanding one's own projections of what one hopes, thinks, or wishes that person to be. I'm sorry they couldn't open their minds up wide enough to fit you into their schema, and I'm sorry they made it seem like it was your fault you didn't fit. It was never on you. It's their loss. They will never get to know you. So take up all the space that you want, be the most authentic version of you that you could possibly be, and the right people will be attracted to you. The right people won't have to work to fit you into their schema. They will just love you for who you are. I love you. That was my serenade to you. Mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah. It's a little bit confusing and dissociating when people are like, oh, I love you, and you're like, that's crazy because you don't even know me, so like you just love this part of me or this version of me that I am around you, or that is not me at all, and it's just really discombobulating. However,